Dusty on the toll-free in Towner, North Dakota. Hi, Dusty, and welcome to CBS Late Night.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is, how does tone affect the conversation that you're having?
Big time.
In that example I gave before, that high-pitched tone, you familiar? Had one meaning to a person from the East Coast, which is, this is casual. You can answer if you feel like it. If you don't feel like it, you don't have to answer. It could be misinterpreted as disrespect, just trying to be so clipped that I'm not even taking the time to talk to you. And this happens in conversations between people, say, from the East and from the South. An example would be indirectness. You know, the way that you ask somebody to do something, the tone is what lets you know that you want somebody to do something. Let me tell an example of a conversation. This took place between a husband and wife. They're driving along in the car, and the wife turns to the husband and says, "Are you thirsty? Would you like to stop for a drink?" And he wasn't thirsty, so he said no. Then it turned out she was annoyed at him because she wanted to stop. And he thought, well, am I supposed to be a mind reader? And I said, no. She didn't expect a yes-no answer. Would you like to stop for a drink? She thought the answer would be something like, I don't know, how do you feel about it? And then he could say, well, I don't know, how do you feel about it?
Now we're getting into this area of great fascination, which is the men-women area. You know, I ask the woman in my life often, I'll say, you know, because I know that she's been out with pals for dinner to a restaurant, and I'll say, what did you have for dinner? And she'll say, well, the woman at the next table had on the most beautiful dress. I'm thinking, what are we talking about here? I said, what did you have for dinner was the question. Why is that so difficult?
My suspicion is that she didn't take it literally as I really need an answer to this specific question.
What could be more simple than what did you have for dinner?
Well, my guess is she's thinking, well, let's just have a free-flowing conversation.
Didn't you write a book called You're Not Listening or something?
You just don't understand.
You just don't understand.
Women and men in conversation.
Yeah.
And the role of conversation is often different for women and for men. So for many women, you come home at the end of the day and you just tell everything that happened and what's on your mind and who you met, what that made you think, and it may be kind of free associating, which is why maybe your wife thought of the table and thought of what the person at the next table was wearing. And then she might turn to you and say, how was your day? And then the man might say something like, oh, same old rat race.
No, I'll just say, it was fine.
It was fine.
It was just
okay.
Fine.
And she feels, well, why
How could it not be fine?
She might feel, you don't tell me anything.
There's nothing to tell.
Exactly.
It's the same old thing every day. I come in here, you know, put the suit on, come down here, schlep the questions, get out of here and go home, have a couple of drinks. It's the same every day.
But then you go out to dinner, and you're sitting at the dinner table with a whole group of people, and suddenly you tell this amusing story about what happened today. And she feels, well, what am I, chopped liver?
Excuse me. I don't go out to dinner. I sit in the conference room with no windows with the people I work with, and we watch Wheel of Fortune every night. That's my whole thing. Yeah, so just, you know, you're not looking at Charlie Raconteur here. You're not looking at, this is not the Maurice Chevalier of the West Coast. You're looking at just dumb old Tom from Milwaukee who gets a kick out of doing TV programs.
Then you're not typical, but it happens. That happens
I understand.
a lot, all across the country.
Dusty, I'm glad you called. Now, Dusty, I'm not trying to be nosy, but is there a man in your life?
Yes, I am happily married.
Very good. Do you and your husband sometimes have trouble conversing with each other?
Oh, every once in a while.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just an innocent thing, you know, it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you another one that's really common between women and men, and I don't know, Dusty, if this happens to you, but it does with a lot of people, where the woman might start talking about problems. You know, well, something happened and this really bothered me. And if a man, and this will often happen, he will come in and tell her how to fix it. And often the woman feels, first of all, if you're telling me how to fix it, you're implying I can't fix my own problems. And that really, you know, it's a little bit of a put down. Also, she wants to really talk about it. And if you move in right away and tell me how to fix it, that cuts short the conversation. And the idea is to get the conversation going. So the role of conversation in keeping us close is really essential to women's friendships. And for many men, that really isn't so much the idea of friendship. It's more doing things together, loyalty. You know, if there's something wrong, I know he's going to be there.
You're right, though. Men don't talk amongst themselves as women do.
Not the same way.
No, we will go bowling together or play golf together or softball or handball or basketball. It's the doing things together rather than being with the other person, the other guy, and talking with him about things.
Right. And often, and this gets back...
Mainly because we have so little to talk about. I mean, it's just...
Well, you might talk about computers, you might talk about cars, you might talk about sports.
Well, there are some things we do talk about.
And this gets back to my new book, The Argument Culture, which is that often men will playfully argue, playfully put each other down. mock insults. In my work in the workplace, if a woman talked about another woman's clothing, it was usually a compliment. Oh, what a great blouse, you know, where did you get it? So you got your haircut, looks terrific. The man, it was kind of like, who'd you let chop up your hair?
Yeah, or did they have that suit in your size?
Yeah.
How's your diet coming? How much are you trying to put on? Yeah.
Or, you know, where'd you get that tie? Looks like your breakfast is still on it. You know, and so, and it can be a way of showing affection, but it's using opposition or a kind of a playful fighting as a way of doing something that's not fighting. And that's, in a sense, when I talk about the argument culture, that's what I'm talking about, a kind of a ritual fighting that's more common among
Dusty, I'm
men.
glad you called. How many souls live in Towner, North Dakota, my friend?
Oh, how many people live in Towner?
Who are you asking, me?
I'm asking my husband.
Oh.
650.
Wow.
Around there.
Wow. Do they have any, like, stores there, or is it just...
Oh, yeah. They have a store and little shops here and there.
Very, very good. And what is it near that the folks would know?
Minot.
Oh, sure.
Bismarck.
Oh, okay.
It's closer to Minot.
Okay. Dusty, I'm glad you called.
I was also going to tell you, if you ever need to feed your dog pills, put it in some peanut butter, because that's what my vet told me.
Well, my vet told me that too, Dusty, but my dog Oliver is one of the few that does not like peanut butter.
Oh, my dog will eat anything.
Well, not mine. Anyway, I'm glad you called. Have a great summer. I hope to talk to you again, okay?
You too, thanks.
Okay, we'll be right back and continue chatting here with Deborah Tannen, who is the author of a book called The Argument Culture. And you on the toll-free as time permits now, these messages.